Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Look, today we're tackling something that so many of us deal with, but almost nobody actually knows how to handle. If you've ever felt just completely drained, or found yourself second-guessing your own sanity, or honestly, just felt trapped by a toxic, manipulative coworker, I want to validate that right here, right now. It is exhausting. But guess what? You are not powerless. All right, let's just dive right into it.
So here is the big question, right? How do you survive a toxic coworker that you simply cannot escape? I mean, maybe it's someone you have to collaborate with literally every single day, or a manager you report directly to. You can't just up and walk away, but engaging with them is completely destroying your peace. Well, today, we're going to walk through a highly tactical, completely non-confrontational survival guide for the workplace. We're going to learn exactly how to protect your emotional energy and do it without causing a giant scene. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with number 1, the threat, followed by number 2, the shield. Then we'll cover number 3, the playbook, run through number 4, live simulations, and finally wrap up with number 5, the maintenance. All right, let's kick things off with section 1, the threat. To actually protect yourself, you first have to understand the specific problem you're dealing with. A difficult, manipulative coworker isn't just accidentally annoying. According to clinical psychology, they're actively seeking something called narcissistic supply. Basically, they need this ongoing feedback loop to feel powerful and significant. And where does that feedback come from? It comes directly from your emotional reactions, your arguments, your visible distress. Seriously, your emotions are literally their fuel. And to extract that supply from you, they use a very specific toolkit of provocations. We're talking about tactics like gaslighting, twisting facts just to make you doubt your own memory. Or maybe they play the victim, using a sob story to shift attention away from a massive mistake they made. They love shifting blame, dropping passive-aggressive insults disguised as jokes, or using heavy sarcasm. Every single one of these tactics, it's a trap. It's a trap deliberately designed to agitate you and force you to react. Which brings us to section 2, the shield. So if they're constantly fishing for a reaction, how do you defend yourself? Well, enter the Grey Rock Method. This is a brilliant psychological strategy grounded in the behavioral concept of extinction. Now, all that means is that behaviors stop when they are no longer rewarded. By intentionally making yourself emotionally unrewarding, you absolutely deprive the manipulator of the reaction they're looking for. You are essentially training them that you are just not a viable source of drama. You become, quite literally, the most boring person in the room. I absolutely love this quote from Psychology Today. They say, akin to a literal gray rock, the trick is to become so boring and unresponsive that the narcissist's attention is deflected. Now, I want to be super clear here. It's very important to distinguish this from stonewalling. Stonewalling is a manipulative punishment, right? It's like giving someone the silent treatment. Gray rocking, on the other hand, is a defensive tactic. You're still present, you're still doing your job, but you are playing dead emotionally to protect your own peace. Moving right along to section 3, the playbook. Okay, so how do we actually pull this off in the middle of a chaotic workday? Well, here are your core steps for emotional self-protection. First up, limit your personal information sharing. I mean it. Do not talk about your weekend, your goals, or your frustrations. Just don't. Second, keep your responses brief, factual, and strictly professional. Honestly, treat your communication like you're filing a boring official report. And third, remember that your physical cues matter just as much. Maintain neutral facial expressions, limit any prolonged eye contact, and use a calm, totally monotone voice. The whole goal is to offer zero emotional material for them to grab onto. And that leads us to the golden rule of the Grey Rock Playbook. It's an acronym, No Jade. That stands for do not justify, argue, defend, or explain. Look, when a toxic coworker makes a completely false accusation or criticizes you unfairly, your natural instinct is obviously going to be to defend yourself with facts and evidence. Don't do it. I know it's incredibly hard, but providing evidence just signals to them that their accusation actually landed and is worth your time. It simply hands them that emotional fuel they are so desperate for. Let's see this in action in section 4, live simulations. Let's put this playbook into practice based directly on our source material. I'm going to do a little role play here, and you're going to hear a pretty dramatic shift in my delivery. I'm intentionally dropping my normal host energy to show you exactly what a flat, boring gray rock response sounds like. Okay, simulation 1. The coworker tries to shift blame and provoke a fight. They say, you always mess up these reports and try to blame me. Your gray rock response is, I see it differently. See what I did there? No arguing, no frantically pulling up emails to prove them wrong, just a neutral, entirely unbothered deflection that gives them absolutely nothing to work with. All right, simulation 2. Let's say they try to cross professional boundaries and fish for some personal vulnerabilities. They walk up and ask, "Why do you look so tired? Is your home life a mess?" Your Grey Rock response is simply, "Things are fine." And that's it. You are literally starving them of personal details. You don't over-explain, you definitely don't ask a reciprocal question, you just let that awkward silence sit there. Okay, simulation 3. They attempt to draw you into workplace gossip or triangulation. You know, trying to pit you against someone else on the team. They lean in and whisper, "What do you think about Sarah's terrible presentation?" Your Grey Rock response is, "I'm focused on the project logistics." Boom! You swiftly redirect the conversation back to mundane, procedural stuff. You refuse the bait entirely. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the maintenance. And I am back, stepping out of the boring Grey Rock character now. Now, while that technique is incredibly effective, we really have to acknowledge reality here. Deliberately holding back your genuine human reactions takes a massive toll on you. Every single encounter has an aftermath, and that unprocessed emotion, it accumulates right in your body. So you absolutely need a post-encounter recovery practice. Right after the interaction, try to get some physical movement, like a walk or a quick workout, just to discharge that activated nervous system. Later on, process the emotions you had to hide by journaling or venting to a really trusted friend outside of the office. And finally, practice actively reconnecting with your own preferences in safe spaces. Because honestly, constantly suppressing yourself can make you lose touch with what you actually want and feel. Before we wrap up, we really have to carefully differentiate between managing an incredibly annoying coworker and dealing with severe, dangerous workplace toxicity. Grey Rock is a fantastic short-term coping strategy for minor provocations, nosy questions, and passive-aggressive emails from someone you still have to work with. But if you are facing physical threats, sexual harassment, severe career sabotage, or discrimination, Grey Rock is not enough. That is exactly when you must escalate to HR or seek legal counsel. Don't try to Grey Rock actual abuse. So, as we close out today's explainer, I want to leave you with this final, powerful thought. You do not owe anyone access to your emotions. Period. Emotional distance is a profound form of self-respect. So how will you reclaim your emotional autonomy? Stop feeding the workplace trolls and become the absolute most boring, unbothered person in the room today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.